Alright guys, I'm here to set the record straight. This one's for the spreadsheet perverts out there. In yesterday's video, I didn't bother to run any calcs on Amagi's personal damage because I just assumed that there is no way she would be stronger alone than Haku. After seeing some of the calcs that were going around from various sources though, I had to investigate for myself since there was nothing I can really contribute to the discussion if I haven't gone through the numbers. When it comes to damage calcs, I only take carrier ones seriously because in the worst case scenario, you can still use Implacable and make sure all of the damage lands. We also know average hit rates of bombs against stationary targets thanks to the calculations of some members of the community, which I have personally checked through empirical testing. Using Nagato Meta's stats, I calculated Amagi and Haku's expected damage in a single airstrike. I'm mostly interested in their performance against medium and heavy armor, so I did not do the calculations for light armor. I'll link these in the description so you can go over the formulas, but there are some numbers that I did not properly format or display. For example, I just added 15% to Amagi's torpedo bomber hit rates for her torpedo damage buff, instead of adding a separate section, and for barrage planes, I just listed the number of torps or bombs they drop, instead of separating how many planes the barrage has, and how much ordnance each plane drops. I also did not take into account Haku or Amagi's timed barrages because they do next to nothing. I really don't think they make a difference. I did assume that Amagi's debuff would be fully stacked by the time her airstrike goes off though. Now, since I'm just a single person, I'm not ruling out the possibility that I messed up somewhere. I'm not talking about putting 61 aviation for fleet tech when I actually have 63, but something much more severe like putting 3 torps instead of 4 for the VIT-2 plane, something I actually did and it took me 2 hours to find the mistake. Okay, so it turns out that Amagi by herself actually straight up hits harder than Haku against medium and heavy armor before accounting for their contributions via buffs and debuffs. This is because, well honestly, Tenrai is just falling behind nowadays in comparison to both LA-9 and aimed torpedo bombers in single target contexts, in large part due to its lower aviation scaling. We can see that despite their torpedo bombers and all of their barrage planes having higher modifiers against heavy than medium, both Amagi and Haku actually deal more damage against medium armor than heavy with LA-9 in just one decently strong fighter slot. When compared with the competition, Amagi still shines against heavy armor, but she actually deals the most damage against medium armor, not heavy. However, she suffers from more competition against medium armor since Nagimov and Yorktown 2 can equip 2 LA-9s. Something else that was brought to my attention was the low flight speed of VIT-2. While low flight speed is good for interception, it is actually quite detrimental for torpedo bombers, as it takes much longer for the torpedoes to reach the enemy. It's actually possible for the enemy to start moving from Implacable's route if your VIT-2 airstrikes go after her. Definitely something to keep in mind when you think about replacing all of your Ryuseis with VIT-2. Anyway, I believe that this means Amagi is actually stronger than both Haku and Musashi in the Musashi Shinano Haku comp. I'm surprised that they powercrapped Haku this quickly after her fate simulation, where it seemed like she finally caught up to Shinano, but now it has never been more clear who the MVP has been this entire time. I also tossed in my Nagimov calcs here. With her 2 LA-9s, she's on a completely different level when it comes to medium damage, and is slightly stronger against heavy armor as well, but keep in mind that you do need to run at least another Northern Parliament ship with a slow, whereas Amagi and Haku are considered in mostly solo contexts. If Amagi was slightly weaker than Haku, it would still be better to bring her for her stat debuffs and torpedo buffs, but it turns out she's actually stronger in damage as well. A total no-brainer here. At least you can sortie the 3 of them together. Anyway, that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.